Hi everyone. The warm weather is here, and for runners, what that means is the need to acclimate. So, what does that look like? Well, first, you got to give yourself a little grace because in warm weather, your body just needs time to get used to dissipating heat and getting used to functioning in that typically more humid, warmer weather. So, things to think about are slowing your pace. That way, you can really better maintain your heart rate and breathing rate so it doesn't get too out of control. The other thing is you want to think about interval training. So, if you're really still working on a pace that you want to set, and hold, then hold that for the interval, give yourself the recovery, and then hold that interval again. So really monitoring your heart rate during this time will help you better understand what's going on. Like, how hard am I really working in the heat? And it'll help you know how long should that interval last and how long does it take me to recover. So it might take you a couple of runs of really monitoring heart rate. Any sort of wearable technology will help show you that, and it'll give you some specificity for keeping your running in a tolerable range for heart rate, because heat will just drive that heart rate back up again, which is what you don't want. The other thing to think about when you're acclimating is you might want to have runs that are more in the shade. So think about that time of day and your route to make sure that you're giving yourself that break in the shade so you're not in direct overhead sun. So the route might be different for a morning run than an afternoon run. So adding that strategy is just going to make you more successful for being able to run in the heat. Running in the heat is all about being able to dissipate heat. And so what that means is that as our bodies sweat, the sweat evaporates, and that's what helps to cool our body temperature. So we want to make sure we're thinking about this in a strategic way. So if we're sweating and that has to dissipate, then we want to make sure that we're wearing clothing that allows us to sweat. So clothing that's like gets wet and heavy, like cotton, is going to be not really necessarily the best clothing to wear in the summer. So wearing more of like a dry fit, breathable shirts or shorts is going to be helpful. The other thing is thinking about how much skin is exposed to the air. So meaning like a tank top is going to give me that much more space to be able to dissipate the heat and evaporate the heat off of my arm. Same thing with shorts. So wearing shorts versus, like a capri or a long pant, that's just going to give my body more space where air can contact my skin to allow that sweat to evaporate. The other way that we dissipate heat is for the top of the head. So if it's super bright and you want to wear a hat because the hat is what, keeps the sun out of your eyes, well, that hat is actually holding heat in on the top of your head, which is great in the winter, but not good when it's warm. So think about either putting on sunglasses and no hat, or wear a visor so that way you can still get the heat or sun out of your eyes, but then you don't get the block of heat dissipation. Hi, everyone. In the heat, one thing that you really want to think about is your hydration. And so how much you're taking in is going to increase as the weather is warmer. And so when you sweat, you're going to be losing salt, and that's going to be something that you want to consider. So prior to going out for your run, really be mindful about what you're packing for your hydration or how you're going to receive hydration on your run. What you could do is drop water along the way. So like the strategy I talked about with cooling your body temperature down, you could also use the same strategy for your water or electrolyte mix. And so have just maybe outside of your house or a friend's house, wherever you are, have a hose ready and then extra water. So that way you're just carrying a little bit with you, and then do your route and loop it back, cool off your body temperature, get more hydration, and then keep going. Just remember, you really have to increase hydration in the heat. And it's not just water. Really making sure that you have a balance with your electrolytes is key. Everybody's physiology is a little bit different. I use Pedialyte Sport. That's what works well for me. Other people, they like coconut water. Other people like the little tabs that they drop in. But just be mindful that sweat equals loss of salt and water, not just water. So really keep that balance up. Running in the warm weather sometimes means this is a great time to be able to cross-train a little bit more. So think about your training and what you have coming up. So what I do, for example, is I usually schedule my races because I live in Florida. So I schedule my races more in the spring, so like February, March. And that way I start adding mileage in October once the weather starts cooling off. So the hottest months of the year are not when I'm adding mileage. I actually cut my mileage, but I work more on cross training during that time, because when I'm cross training, I can get out of the heat a little bit more and I'm not putting myself at risk of some sort of heat related injury. If you live in cold months, then you might have this vice versa, right? So it might not be super safe for you to be outside in the dead middle of winter. So you might add your mileage at a different time of year. So just think about how can you use your year strategically to be able to add mileage when you want to add mileage, cut mileage when you need to cut mileage, and just use cross training, meaning anything that's going to add cardio is a great cross training. Biking, swimming, getting on an elliptical. If it's in the winter, it could be snowshoeing. I mean, be creative with it, like have fun. And then also with cross training is all sorts of strengthening. And so when you do strengthening, especially in circuit workouts, it's fun and creative and is supportive to your running. So just think, how can I really change up my year when the temperature is changing and still have fun, but prepare myself for the goals I want? So just food for thought. More info on our Running in the Warm Weather series. And today what we're going to talk about is how to cool your body temperature down. So as you start getting hotter and hotter, we want to be able to have quick techniques to get that body temp down. So what we think about is, where's the vascularity? Well, we've got major vascularity in our neck. We've got major vascularity in our groin. And so if you need to cool your body temperature down quickly, the best thing to do is to cool that off. So you can either do a hose and run a hose over the back of the neck and the top of the head. That'll cool stuff down. If you're really hot, you can get an ice pack and wear that around your neck and put that over the groin as well, and that'll cool the body temperature down. And so it just kind of depends if you're needing to cool the body temperature quickly once you're done running. Usually ice packs will help do that, breathing. If you're trying to cool your body temperature down while you're running, then using water to pour on the top of the head and water over the neck will help keep the body temperature down. So one strategy I use in the summers is I create a route where I'll loop past my house and I'll have a hose out ready to go. And so I'll hose off the top of my head and neck before I run, and then I'll loop in every now and again, and I'll re-hose my neck and the top of my head. And that way it just keeps my body temperature down and I can keep running safely without overheating. So just remember, play it safe. Heat can be really a difficult thing to tolerate. So play it safe, remember to acclimate. If you like to run with your dog and the weather's getting warmer, there's a couple things that you want to think about. One is that the road heats up during the day, and that heat is going to come off the road, and your dog doesn't have shoes on, or might they? Considering putting shoes on your dogs will protect the bottom of their feet from the warmth of the road. Now, it might take a minute for your dogs to get used to having these shoes on, as my coworker Alicia's dogs did. However, with a little bit of practice, there they go, walking right along or running right alongside you, safely